There is a company in Hollywood, Florida that legally copies parts from Boeing and Airbus suppliers, sells them to airlines for roughly 35% less, and the original manufacturers cannot legally stop it. Last fiscal year, it pulled in $4.485 billion in revenue, the bulk of it from doing exactly that. $690 million in net income, both records, both up double digits, and almost nobody outside of aerospace investors has heard of it. Welcome to HEICO, the quietest monopoly in commercial aviation. Inside HEICO's catalog sit more than 19,500 FAA-approved replacement parts. Each one is a reverse-engineered version of an original component built by a Boeing or Airbus supplier. Legally identical, separately certified, sold without permission. And HEICO files for over 500 new ones every single year. That is the world's largest independent aftermarket parts library, and it grows automatically while the original equipment manufacturers can do nothing about it. Here is how the toll booth actually works. HEICO buys an original part, say a turbine fastener, a sensor bracket, a circuit card, tears it down, redesigns it from scratch, then files for parts manufacturer approval with the Federal Aviation Administration. Once the FAA certifies that part as airworthy, it is legal on commercial aircraft. The original supplier cannot revoke that certification. No warranty clause, no contractual lockout, no patent threat can pull the part off the wing. The certification itself is the moat. And once a part is certified, the cost of that certification is sunk. Every dollar of revenue after that drops through at industrial software-like margins. At launch, HEICO prices each part at roughly 35% below the OEM list price. And here is the punchline. As Boeing and Airbus suppliers raise their list prices year after year, HEICO holds. So the discount widens toward 50% over time. The moat actively deepens without HEICO lifting a finger. The OEMs are quietly subsidizing the competitor that is replacing them. Here is the revenue curve. $1.69 billion in fiscal 2020, $1.93 billion in 2021, $2.33 in 2022. Then the Wencor acquisition closes and the curve bends sharply. $3.24 billion in 2023, $3.86 in 2024, $4.485 last year. Revenue has grown roughly 2.5 times in 5 years for a business most analysts still file under boring industrials. $4.485 billion. Record revenue, up 16% year over year, from a company whose entire job is to make Boeing and Airbus suppliers slightly more anxious every quarter. And here is where the operating leverage shows up. Net income, $328 million in fiscal 2019, just before the pandemic. $404 million in 2023, $514 million in 2024, $690 million last year, up 34% in a single year while revenue grew 16%. That is the signature of a business whose marginal cost of selling another certified part is close to zero. Here is the quiet monopoly take. Wall Street obsesses over founders who launch rockets and run keynotes from a stage. The best businesses do the opposite. They sit inside a regulatory process nobody wants to read. They charge a perpetual toll on somebody else's installed base. And they compound quietly for 40 years while nobody films a documentary about them. HEICO is exactly that. It is not, fundamentally, an aerospace parts company. It is a certification factory dressed up as an industrial. The FAA stamp is the actual product. The parts are just the delivery mechanism. And every part stamped is a recurring cash flow with a useful life of decades. Operating margin hit 22.7% in fiscal 2025, up from 21.4%. The Flight Support Group, where the PMA business lives, ran at 24.1%. That segment alone is 70% of total revenue. Those are software tier margins, attached to physical parts that fly on Airbus jets. Each airline customer using HEICO saves on average $25 million a year on parts and repair solutions. That is the bait. Once an airline standardizes on HEICO components across 19,500 line items, the switching cost back to OEM pricing is brutal. The customer is not just locked in. The customer is happy about it. On top of the PMA engine, HEICO bolts on niche aerospace and defense electronics businesses at discipline multiples. The largest, Wencor, closed in 2023 for $2.05 billion at roughly 12.9 times EBITDA. Management has done dozens of these deals at similar prices. Every single one gets folded into the same certification engine. And here is the arbitrage hiding in plain sight. HEICO buys aerospace businesses at roughly 13 times EBITDA. The public market values HEICO itself at over 35 times EBITDA. So every acquired dollar of earnings is re-rated to nearly 3 times its purchase price the moment it lands inside the holding company. That is, the engine within the engine. Operating cash flow last year hit $934 million, 135% of net income. Tangible return on invested capital, stripping out acquisition goodwill, ran at 29%. And net debt is already back down to 1.6 times EBI, deleveraged from over 2 times after the largest deal in company history. The balance sheet absorbed Wencor in 2 years. This is why the market pays 59 times earnings for what looks like a sleepy parts business and values the whole thing at over $46 billion. 19,500 FAA certifications, 500 new ones every year. A discount that widens automatically as OEMs raise prices. $25 million a year in savings per airline customer. Acquisitions stacked on top at 13 times EBITDA. Cash conversion above net income. Tangible ROIC near 30%. There was nothing flashy here. No founder on stage, no moonshot. Just a federal certification process turned into a $46 billion machine, and the airlines themselves pay it to exist. The loudest businesses sell stories. The quietest sell tolls. If you want more teardowns of the businesses nobody films documentaries about, the certification engines, the niche distributors, the regulatory toll booths hidden inside dull-sounding industrials, subscribe to Quiet Monopoly. That is the only kind of business we cover.